Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Grindhouse, where we drink coffee, talk about movies. My name is Leah Diana, and with my co-host and boyfriend, Shawn Tetrault, we will be winding back the reels to 1973. Kitty, a photographer living in Rome, accidentally witnesses the murder of a young woman at the hands of a razor-wielding, black-gloved killer. Kitty and her fiancé, Alberto, go to the police only to learn that 2 other witnesses to the crime have been slashed to death. Kitty fears that she will be the next victim when her ballerina friend, Magna, is brutally killed by the same elusive culprit. In Death Carries a Cane. Let's get into it.
Angst, wie in einem Albtraum. Horror und Spannung, wie sie kaum zu überbieten sind. Nachts, wenn das Licht ausgeht und die Treppen auf einmal knarren, erleben Sie die Nacht der rollenden Köpfe. Keiner weiß, ob er Mensch oder Biest ist. Keiner weiß, wer er ist oder wo er ist. Ist er hinter der Tür, vor dem Fenster, auf dem Dach? Nur Sie werden wissen, dass er die schreckenerregendste Leinwandfigur der Saison ist. Wenn Sie nach der Nacht der lebenden Toten und der Nacht der reitenden Leichen schlaflose Nächte hatten, verpassen Sie nicht die Nacht der rollenden Köpfe. Und so urteilt die Presse. Ein Film im Stil von Hitchcock. Er übersteigt bisherige Vorstellungen von Horrorszenen. Robert Hoffmann und Susan Scott in dem Film Die Nacht der rollenden Köpfe. Kommen Sie nicht allein in diesen Film, denn wenn Sie diese Schritte hören, brauchen Sie einen nervenstarken Partner, an den Sie sich festklammern können. Die Nacht der rollenden Köpfe. Ein böser Film.
Spread the word, you dirty cocksuckers. Tell all your grave robbing friends I want them out of the city now!
The nightmare of insane murder. From the depths of hell. Screaming angel of death. Only at the Grindhouse.
So, I'm noticing a bit of an unintentional pattern developing, or a theme. We seem to keep choosing movies that center around females who happen to be photographers.
We really do, and it's kind of weird. Is my camera in the background? I'm just gonna get that out of the shot. I feel like it should be in the next fucking crime murder drama that the 2 of us watch lately.
Oh, god damn it.
What did you didn't turn your camera on?
I'm backpedal. We have to backpedal. Sorry. I fucked up.
I fucked up.
Alright. So, let's take this back to 1. So I'm sort of noticing a bit of an unintentional theme.
A pattern, if you will.
A pattern, if you will. That seems to be developing. We seem to keep choosing movies that center around females who happen to be photographers.
I don't know what you mean. I don't know why you pointed that out.
Are you doing this intentionally?
No.
I think she's lying.
Death Carries a Cane. Or, what was the actual one? The Night of the Rolling Heads. Honestly, I liked that title, before we watched the movie. Now that we've watched the movie, Death Carries a Cane is better.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It actually turns out there's been a lot of titles for this movie.
Oh god, yeah. Lots of titles.
So Death Carries a Cane is like the official American English title. However, it's also been known as Devil Blade, The Tormentor, or just simply Trauma.
Trauma probably would have been better. I think Trauma would have explained the movie. But, okay, this movie had such a... Okay, I'm gonna be honest. This movie lost me about 30 minutes in. My interest was gone. I was hoping, and I picked this off of the Grindhouse list. And I was like, yeah, this movie's gonna be great. I'm really excited.
Yeah, it was somewhat dull in comparison to, like, at least the Giallo films that we've watched together.
Dull like the razor he was using to kill his victims.
That's a good one. I'll give you that.
Okay. So, if all of you are watching on YouTube, we have a friend. This is a new friend. I'll look up. This is Vanta. There you go. Let everybody see the box art.
Her full name is Vanta Black.
Vanta Black. She's our new sleek little cat. Unfortunately, you won't see the other fuzzy one because they hate each other.
Yes, currently we have to keep them separated. If you could see about
this way,
half a foot this way, there's like this big enclosure.
There's a puppy kitty playpen in the middle of our living room. Only because I have to have surgery in less than 5 days from when we're recording this. And I need to have a knee scooter because I can't walk for almost 2 months. So I can't put weight on my foot. So I have to knee scoot around the house. This was our solve. So 1, I didn't have to open the door and try to wrangle another cat. And 2, I wasn't rolling over kitty tails. Vanta's a pretty calm cat. She's very different from Autumn. Autumn is a nightmare.
Yeah, Autumn is the most bipolar cat I've ever seen.
She must have some sort of cognitive function problems. Because when we tell... Oh, I almost threw my glasses across the room. When we tell Vanta, no, stop. After a couple of times, she doesn't do it ever again. She sits where we need her to. She just relaxes. She plays a little. The scars on my hand, none of them are from her. But Autumn she just keeps going and keeps going. And oh my god. Also, it's been a little bit of time since we've seen you guys.
Well, not for you.
No.
For you guys, this is just the next episode. For us, it's been
3 months.
3 months since we recorded what will be, I believe the last episode you guys saw was Total Recall.
Total Recall, yeah.
Which, yeah, I mean, life gets in the way. This is why we pre-record the show.
Yep.
And actually, one thing we should probably mention is that this is going to be the second to last episode with video.
Yeah.
For a little while, at the very least.
It's not that we don't like doing the cameras, because we do. And Shawn is actually learning how to live edit. You can kind of see his hand on some of the board there. He's doing a live edit as we speak, which is kind of cool. But for the next couple of months, it's going to be really tough to like try and figure out how, because I have to stay like with my leg elevated on the bed. It was one of the reasons. The other reason why, it's just to set it up, to take it down. It's been a little bit of a tough, kind of like, not tough, but it's just been, you've gotten so many gigs lately that you literally have to take everything down, put it all away, strike the whole thing, take it out of the house, come back, put it, and it's a lot of work. So we've decided, I think, just for the remainder of this year's episodes, that we're gonna pretty much can the video.
Well, yeah. I think at the very least for now we're gonna stop doing video. It may come back in the future. It may not, depending on how we feel after all of this craziness is behind us. We also we've got a lot of other projects that we want to start working on, and if we tried to do video for everything, it would take us fucking forever.
It would.
Like,
I love doing the video. I love the fact that YouTube, we have a couple of videos that have a lot of views on them, and it's great. But I think we're going to focus more on the video, the audio podcast part of it, because the two of us can never just lie in bed and not go to sleep. Right when we're about to fall asleep, we come up with these amazing, grandiose ideas, and let me tell you, it's a fucking long list, and we hate ourselves. It really is. We've thought about everything. Figure a way to put an art out there. We've figured it out, and we're like, oh, we're gonna do that. We've had like, what, 2 ideas in the works for about our entire relationship. We're going on like, we just hit 4 years. We're going on 4.5. So we better step up and get through some of those ideas.
yeah, I agree. And like, as much as I want to do video is my thing. It's what I enjoy doing more than anything else.
This was not an easy decision for me. I feel bad. I was like, no, this is your thing. And he's like, oh, well, I think I'm more like, no, don't do it, than he is. But coming from your, like, where you're sitting, it's a lot of fucking work. I don't do this part of it. I sit here and look pretty and talk to the camera. I don't do anything else.
No, I think, honestly, if I had someone to help me with, like, the post-production process, I would consider keeping the video, but I just need something to give. Like, I have so much going on right now, and as much as I like doing this the way we are, I think we need to take a step back, take a break from it, and just, like, simplify it.
I would love to be able to help with post-production. Unfortunately, as y'all can see, my laptop died. I had my laptop hooked up to this nice rig. There was a plan to get a new computer. World's just been a little crazy. Everything's gotten a lot more expensive. Paychecks aren't going up. And I lost my computer. I'm borrowing a friend's right now to literally play Minecraft until my surgery. And then I have to give it back because I don't want to be on a computer for that long. I have a, what would you say, like 8-year-old Mac laptop I'm using right now.
I don't remember what year she said it was.
She got it 2013, 2014. So yeah, it's about 8 years old. That's the only PC I have right now. Which sucks because I would love to be able to help you with that stuff. And my laptop could have, because it's like a really nice MSI laptop. It's not even that old. It's from 2017. And the battery expanded. And if I turn it on, it may explode. So, whoops. It might just be it is what it is kind of thing. But we got to stop the video for a bit. But we're still going to bring the podcast to you. We have a lot of things coming between Patreon, between this podcast, between other projects. You know, prior to starting this podcast, we were actually doing video daily vlogs for a little bit. until we got to 2 of our friends' weddings, and the amount of footage you have from those 2 weddings is ridiculous, because one of them you actually have the wedding video and you're editing the wedding video. We have to work on that. And the other one was we just brought the camera for fun because you were there. And we did, like, I would say, almost 3 months prior to the weddings, you were vlogging.
Yeah, and I kind of fell out of it only because all this work started flooding in, and like I just stopped having enough time to like really think about filming myself doing stuff.
Yeah.
And I want to get back to doing it. I really was having fun with it, but I mean, with the way things are currently, it's going to take a little while before I can do that. And I don't know, I've been rethinking how I was going about it before, so I think if I go back, it's going to be a very different experience this time. So
well, it was right around that time that you had stopped doing these is when we really were like, let's do the podcast. And we bought all the equipment, we started making the plans. And the one thing I'm bummed about, you guys are looking at me on the exact same camera he's got. He has a second 4K Blackmagic because my camera kept fucking up constantly. So now we actually have the camera to use, and we're going to be getting rid of the video.
yes, all this time we have been saying we apologize for the video issues, and we want to get that fixed and simplified and make sure it doesn't happen anymore.
It's fixed now.
I fucking fixed the problem, and now I don't have enough time to keep the video going, unfortunately. So hopefully we'll be able to bring it back at some point.
So for the remainder of 2022, I'm still talking 2020. For the remainder of 2022, the video probably is going to be nixed. And we're not saying that, we don't record every week. We record like in batches. I think the most we ever did was 3 movies in one day, and it took a lot out of us to do that. So we usually only do 2 movies a day. But with me being out of work for like almost 2 months, and if he's home, we could bang out like 5-6 movies a week. And that'll be so much easier than just only having 1 to 2 days on the weekends to be able to do it. Which will be kind of nice, but also...
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of movies. There's going to be a lot of movies. We know what movies are coming up, and there are some rough ones. There are.
Yeah, I think it's the right decision. I think cutting out the video is going to help us be able to produce these faster. We'll be able to put them out, put them together in a much more cohesive, and we'll be able to kind of focus on the quality of the product rather than just the amount that we're doing.
Yeah.
My hope is that we'll be able to keep the podcast going longer this way, and we'll be able to do some of the other ideas that we want to do. We are going to have to rethink our Patreon strategy. Like, maybe part of that will end up being video content that you can only get on there.
Yeah.
Like, we'll do special stuff just for you guys. If you want to watch us physically see us, you'll have to become patrons. I don't know. We haven't really discussed it yet, but I'm hoping we can bring video back at least in some form.
I believe, though, we're not getting rid of the YouTube videos. They're just going to be standard, images of maybe the movie or some other things. We're not getting rid of YouTube. You're still getting the podcast on YouTube. You unfortunately will not see our beautiful, lovely faces or the crazy cats. So.
Yes, the YouTube channel is going to remain. We're going to keep putting it up there because we like to have it on as many platforms as possible. And I haven't decided. I think you'll essentially see some kind of graphic or something to kind of... We don't really expect people to be watching this show.
I listen to podcasts. I used to listen to podcasts at work. That's another story. But when I listen to podcasts at work, whether it was on YouTube or Spotify or Anchor or whatever, I would only just have it on and then the earbud in my ear. I wouldn't watch the actual podcast unless it's like some people do like clips of a podcast and they'll do animations to it. That's the only time you really like watch it. But yeah, I mean, a podcast to me is, it's really convenient to have the reaction of the two people or 3 or 4 or how many in front of you, just to see like what faces they're making and shit like that. Because when you're telling a story and you recreate arachnophobia and you hate it so much that you're literally doing this for like 20 minutes. My mother still will not listen to that episode. She's like, nope, can't do it. I'm like, it is one of the funnier episodes we've done, is arachnophobia. It is. It's, oh my god.
That was a fun one.
Ugh. Well, we should stop yammering about the future.
Yes. Just to wrap that up, I do want to say, like, that YouTube channel's not going anywhere. If you guys prefer watching on YouTube or listening on YouTube, it's going to be there. You'll lose the video, but like I was trying to say, like, we don't honestly make this expecting people to physically watch it. It's more just the convenience of having the video and the fact that we like doing video.
Yeah.
So, it's unfortunate that that's going to change, but it's not going anywhere. The show is going to stick around. We're still going to be out on basically every major streaming platform that we can get it on. So,
yep.
Hopefully you guys keep listening.
Please keep listening. We're very poor. We need money for food. We need money for the cats. I need money for my K-pop addiction. I haven't bought K-pop in like 2 months. Please help. Send money. Please.
I hate to break it to you, but we're not making shit on this podcast currently.
We have one subscriber. One. Hi, Mom.
Thank you to our one subscriber.
Well, let's get into this. Yeah, let's get into this.
Alright, so today we watched Death Carries a Cane. This came from director
Good luck with all the names.
Yeah, these names are all in
Italian, German, and I think there were some French names.
Yeah, so this came from director Maurizio Perdue, I believe is how it's pronounced.
From the Perdue family.
Not that Purdue family.
I know.
So this one stars Robert Hoffman, Susan Scott, and George Martin. I assume some of those were like their American chosen names.
Yeah, because usually with these Giallo style films, and this was like a stretch, but it was still a Giallo style, they were speaking their native language, but it was dubbed in English. Because some of the girls were speaking English, it just didn't match up. It's, oh my god, we'll eventually get to real Giallo films. I don't think we've done a real Giallo film yet.
Yeah, we have.
We have? Which one did we do?
We started with Pieces, which is our second episode, and that was a Giallo film.
Oh, I didn't think that was an actual Giallo film. Well, the first Giallo film I actually watched was The Beyond, which, oh my god, the dubbing is terrible, but it is such a good movie. It was. But yeah, you notice with these style of movies where, do you think Japanese dubs are bad? These are even worse. Like, Japan tries. I don't even think they're trying.
So this movie originally released January 5th, 1973. I think it originally only came out in Italy and Spain. It is technically a Giallo film, however, it is a German-Dutch Giallo, which is odd to say the least.
Well, that means they just got really strong influences from Giallo pretty much at that point, right?
Well, yeah, it's essentially a different country trying to make their own version of an Italian crime thriller.
I think they should have tried harder. A little tickle in my throat.
Well, to be fair, I believe that they did a decent job following the format in most regards.
The format, yes. The acting and the conveying certain parts, absolutely not.
No, like one of my notes here on this was that the performances throughout this entire thing are those stereotypical, overacted portrayals of drama. Like everything out of everybody's mouth is like overemphasized, and like their inflections and their every like look and small action is like overemphasized as if they were like trying to do it for like an audience.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't. It's laughable now.
It's so bad. So bad. Any fun facts? Because I didn't find much.
It's worth mentioning that the DVD copy that you actually acquired for this is a VHS transfer of the film, and I think it's one of the few versions of this movie that you can actually get your hands on today.
Yep.
But the beauty of that VHS quality, to me, is like it maintains that like the heavy grain, the dust and scratches from the film, and that like soft image, faded colors look, and that's some of the stuff that I love most about watching VHS.
Yeah, because you think if this movie's set in the... Oh my god, it actually says Giallo series on the side of the goddamn box. I didn't notice that. Bought this how long ago? It's interesting because the 70s were like vivid colors. The outfits were very bright. Like, especially like if you look around in Europe, like the movie was a very dull kind of, I want to say like film on it. It's like a dull... I don't know what word I'm trying to use.
Faded.
Yeah, like there was a filter over the movie, like a sepia tone filter that just kind of like dulled it out. It was interesting, very different from, what was that movie that we watched, Baba Yaga? That movie was a lot brighter in my opinion. Didn't have as much as that filter on it. Yeah,
essentially, like, so Baba Yaga was essentially just a better transfer, like the film that they copied, the film negatives that they copied the image off of to put onto DVD and stuff was just better quality. It was better well kept. This one, it was very clear that film had been through the fucking ringer.
Yeah.
I mean, they likely like salvaged it from an old theater that had it stored somewhere.
Very possible.
And I don't know, I think some of those imperfections just add to the experience for me.
You like that weird stuff. You always have.
Why is it weird?
I don't know, not weird to say weird, more like quirks. You like those quirks about films like that, like if there's like a little bit of a skip, or if it's not a perfect copy, or it's got like heavy grain and stuff like that. You enjoy it.
I do, yeah, and I think part of that comes from like you're seeing what this film has been through over the years. Like it's imprinted on the negative, and it's never going away. And like I get excited when I see somebody like Shout Factory or Vinegar Syndrome, and they Arrow, yeah, and they restore these old movies, and the best copies they could get were damaged in some way, so like it comes through in the Blu-ray copy, and it's like that history is preserved now on current media, and that's amazing to me.
I'd really like to see if we get our hands on copies of some of these Giallos, but actual VHS. It's gonna be hundreds of dollars.
Giallos are hard to get your hands on because collectors have snatched most copies up already.
Well, I guess we just have to wait for the collectors to die then, huh?
Or we kill them.
That's stretching it. That's a little extreme, don't you think?
No. Come on.
No. No killing.
She's no fun.
I flipped him off.
Okay, so, did you kind of do a play-by-play for this one? Because I did not.
As best as I could, because it lost my interest. So we talked that it was a VHS rip. So the movie opens with the traditional 1970s kind of style where the credits are run in the beginning. Nowadays, if you tell younger kids, like, probably, like, maybe about high school or younger, like, oh, they used to run the credits prior, they're thinking, oh, God, can you imagine Marvel movie credits in the beginning? Like...
That would be kind of interesting, actually.
Oh, you don't get to watch the movie for 45 minutes until all the credits run. Then you can see the film. It'll make the post-credits scene a little dull. Oh, but it's only like your standard... I don't know, how long was it? Like maybe 3 or 4 minutes? If that.
Yeah, it's your basic credits roll. There is stuff happening, like, some of my notes for the opening were like it starts with the like shots of the city or the town that they're in, and you're seeing, like, you see this vignetting around the shot, and it almost like almost made me think, oh God, that's like awful. But then you see it's like, oh, 2 characters are looking through like a telescope.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. So that's kind of cool. Like,
I really was like, oh, please let the movie be like this the whole time, where the camera was not pushed out right, and it was the circle in the center. I was like, oh, please, that's great.
I've seen it.
I know.
Mostly on, like, SOV movies or, like, direct-to-video trash, but it happens, especially when people don't have the budget to use anything but a Handycam.
Hey, you know what? Some of the best straight to YouTube videos I've seen are yours with Handycam. So
listen, Handycam was we all started with Handycam, most of us anyway. Like, it's rare that you see somebody who's like, I want to be a filmmaker, and their first camera is a fucking DSLR.
It's too bad that I have prior knowledge knowing that none of your movies are Grindhouse movies. Because I would totally make us review one of your movies.
Yeah, no, the only time I ever attempted that style was when me and the guys back in the day, we attempted to enter the fake trailer contest that Tarantino and Rodriguez put out when they released Grindhouse. Famously won by Hobo with a Shotgun. But yeah, we entered that, but at that time I didn't understand what a Grindhouse movie was. So, like, the trailer that we made was like not a fucking Grindhouse trailer at all.
Which trailer was that?
That was for an idea called The Hit. And I don't think you've ever seen it.
I don't think I've ever seen that one.
I've
seen a lot of you've got an old hidden YouTube with a lot of your old videos that you showed me one day. I remember Violence. I remember the Reanimator stuff. I remember Serial Killer. Those are the only ones I remember.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not proud of really anything that came out of those days. But...
Stop! I think Serial Killer is still one of my favorite home movie type thing like that I've ever seen. It's so funny. And you get to see baby Shawn with long hair and no beard or mustache. It's fucking terrifying.
I mean, we all had to start somewhere. Like, I don't think some of them are terrible.
They're not as bad as you think. You know that.
No, but there are some things I made during that time that are awful, but there are some gems in there that I'm like, okay, like, I can see the merit in what we did, and I see that, like, I know that I've grown a lot since then. So
God, yeah, I've seen your work now. Death March, I didn't see 4 pins yet.
Well, to be fair, I worked on those. I didn't shoot them or anything.
Yeah, but you're still involved with them.
Yeah.
I've seen Mind's Eye, which you were involved in. And what was the other one?
Almost Human.
Almost Human. I saw both of those. You were involved in those, and look, whether you shot it, directed it, did everything, or whether you were involved with it, you were still in the movie making process.
Yeah, but there's only so much you can take credit for when you're not super involved in a project.
I don't care. You're a great director. Stop. I said this to you yesterday. We're building your confidence. You are a great director. What are you supposed to say back to me?
Don't listen to her.
Oh my God. You're
fucking
supposed to
terrible.
say thank you. You're supposed to say thank you. I'm going to kill this man. I'm going to kill him dead. So anyways, they're looking through a telescope. It's these two dudes. They're looking through one of those tourist, like, viewfinder telescope things. And, it's 2 tourists and then a woman. I have no idea what relation those 2 people were. Uncle, aunt, father, mother. I'm not sure. I remember uncle said at one point, but I don't know. But as she's looking through the viewfinder, just looking around, she witnesses a murder. She witnesses a man in all black with a big brimmed hat stabbing a naked woman, pretty much.
And this is a fucking staple of Giallo. Your killer is always going to almost always
Black gloves, black hat, black trench coat, black shoes. Whole thing.
Usually killing someone with a blade of some kind, often a straight razor, as in this film. And targets mostly women and
Elderly crippled people.
Yeah.
Yeah. That poor old lady. That poor old bitch.
Alright, where were you?
Let's see. Nope. That's the weather. We're expecting really bad thunderstorms today. We're supposed to go to 2 parties today that were canceled and moved to tomorrow for thunderstorms.
I'm telling you.
2 o'clock and we've had no thunderstorms yet. 2 o'clock.
I'm telling you. What's going to happen is the weather's going to shift.
And
it's going to ruin everybody's parties tomorrow.
And I'm just going to laugh because these are the last 2 things that I can really do before my surgery. I'm out for the whole summer. I'm so mad. I'm stuck in here. But I have lots of books and we have lots of podcasting to do. So we're hoping we don't lose power. I don't think that'll
Hopefully
be likely,
not.
but they're saying, because we're going to record 2 today and our next one, I'm really hoping that they're saying that they're going to be so bad. They're like, we're guaranteeing people are going to lose power and trees are going to get knocked over. And I'm just like, move the car to Walmart. I know it's sunny. It's actually sunny. Move the car to the Walmart parking lot so we don't have a tree fall on it, and hunker down, hope for the best. So the woman sees the murder through this telescope thing, whatever. I know there's a more proper name. It's those things where you got the little 2 eye holes and you're holding it and you can shift it around. Like, they're big on the Empire State Building. I don't know. She sees the murder and she goes to find someone to tell. And she stops a man in a uniform and he says, "Oh, I'm a fireman." And she goes, "Well, can you help me?" "No, it's my day off. If I help you, my old lady's going to get mad. I got to go."
I'm pretty sure someone who's dedicated their life to being a fireman would not deny someone help, even if it was their day off.
There's a woman being murdered. I just witnessed it. You need to help me. "Oh, my wife's going to get mad. Gee, I can't." Like, were the 70s that fucked up?
I mean, they were fucked up, but I don't know about that fucked up.
Like, that fucked up. The next thing, I'm not 100% sure what happens after that. All I know is her husband Alberto is 10 minutes late to meet them with the tickets because he had to get the train tickets for her family members that were traveling. I don't know who they were. And he gets there and she's frantic, like, "Oh my God, there was this woman murdered, blah, blah, blah. We have to help her, blah, blah, blah." The next scene is them in a car and it's dark. It's sunny during this. They're in a car. It's dark. She has a hat on, like a full-fledged red hat. Now, I know it's a driving hat because women used to put these hats on so the wind wouldn't mess up their hair. They're in an enclosed car with the windows up. I'm like... And he's like, "So what about this murder you saw?" "Oh, it's just a woman." She's so calm. She was frantic in the last scene and calm in this one. I'm like,
Yeah, there's a lot of moments where things just kind of jump to something completely, to a different tone or something unrelated. It happens a lot throughout this whole thing. But I do want to note that from this moment, we're in the car, from the moment we meet Alberto, they immediately make him feel like he's guilty of something. He's constantly giving her these these looks,
these side-eye glances. Yeah.
It looks like he's hiding the fact that he's the murderer right off the bat.
And then when they get back to their home, granted there's sex in the middle of this. The sex in this movie is a lot of taking clothes off, rubbing faces and body parts against each other. It's like they're two people who are like, this is what the book said to do. Like, it was, ew, oh my god. Like, I keep watching going, are they rubbing themselves for warmth or actually fucking? Like, what is happening?
Well, that happens a lot. Like, one of the notes I have written down here is like that, out of nowhere, it'll literally just cut to a sex scene.
Just
and like
sex.
the example I put down was like, we're in a police station with the inspector, and all of it, like, they use it as like a transition. Like, the scene will end, it'll cut to the blonde lady and the piano guy having sex, and then it'll cut back to another inspector scene, and it's like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
Why?
Like, are you trying to, like, throw us off something? Because right now, all you've told us is, alright, the one thing that you've told us is Alberto makes dummies and was stabbing one of the dummies when the inspector came in to talk to them about the murder she saw. And I was like, you're trying way too hard to be like, it's him! He's the dude!
Yeah, and that scene I even noted with, like, that compounds the fact that he looks so guilty, because as soon as the inspector walks in, he's immediately like, the jig is up!
He's holding the knife, he's looking, he goes, it's not what you think. Stab, stab. I'm like, what are you doing? Obviously, he's not the killer. And they actually, I will give them credit, throughout this movie, they made it seem like there were 3 or 4 different people it could be. And I was like, okay, that's kind of cool, but the twist I didn't think about. The actual twist at the ending, very creative. But I was like, oh, you gave us Alberto. Alberto, obviously, we're telling you Alberto's not the murderer. Alberto. Here are the 4 or 5 other people in the last 10 minutes. And I'm like, what is happening?
And I know this is a sign of the time, but it happened around these early moments, and I wanted to just mention it. Fucking Alberto makes like this offhanded, super sexist comment.
Yes. It's the only thing she does well besides make love. Is she can take photos.
He's talking about her photography, but I was just like, that's super rude, dude.
It's not gonna fly. It's 2022. Your ass is gonna get grass. Oh, my other favorite thing was when she was talking to the fireman and she was like, oh, I've had enough of this. I just went hand wave. Fuck you. Because that's all I felt like she should have, like, fuck you. Like, but they were politer in the 70s, I guess. Oh, the other one was when the inspector was like, she was knifed? She was knifed. What do you mean she was knifed? She was stabbed? She was knifed.
Well, knifed is a term that they used to use. They don't really do it anymore.
No, but it just sounds weird. Excuse me, sir, while I kniff this lady. You know? It just sounds funny.
So throughout this movie, in standard Giallo fashion, you get a lot of shots, a lot of parts of the movie that are through the killer's POV as he's like stalking people through windows.
And not well.
No, this isn't the most elegant killer, like, at all.
So I have a note here, like, after we're like, oh, is Alberto the killer with all these clues? We get to the kill that I don't understand, which is, as I call him, mustache man that doesn't know how to put food in his mouth. He's eating spaghetti with a big spoon.
Oh, you talking about the victim guy?
Yeah. Who was he? Did I miss him somewhere?
No, honestly, I think he was just... Oh, he was never seen before that scene. He was... the guy that remember when she's looking through the telescope and after it runs out?
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh,
there's the chestnut.
There's the chestnut. The guy. The killer might have knocked over his chestnuts when he was trying to escape."
I'm sorry, my face says.
Did I break you?
I'm just trying to think, like, but it just seems so silly because the killer shows up at his house and knocks on the door with the cane. All right, and the dude's like, "Who is it? Who is it? What do you want?" And he knocks on the window. So you think it's smart not to open the door, because he does open the door, look out, and shut it. You think that if somebody didn't acknowledge that they were at the door for you, you think opening the window is a smarter idea? I would have locked everything and called the police. These people are dumb.
It's a movie. I mean, you're going to have characters like this no matter what.
I don't care if it's a movie. Get smart, people. Get smarter.
Like, I get the entire idea of including this guy. Like, I get why, alright, like, he would go and kill him. Because, like, he would potentially have seen his face and could have tied him to the crime. But I feel like the scene was needless, ultimately.
Honestly, if they would have just said, like, in a backstory like the investigator did, "Oh, the gentleman who was selling chestnuts was killed." That's what they said. I didn't put two and two that mustache man that can't eat his spaghetti with a fork was chestnut dude. There was no indication at that point. If they would have had, like... They say it, but I think there should have been, I don't know, chestnuts somewhere in the kitchen, or maybe the same basket somewhere. At least put context clues. There are some movies that do not give us clues, and it drives me crazy. But, I mean, yeah, it was kind of a needless kill. They tried really hard to show the straight razor on the neck, but I feel like they as a production fucked that up, and they never showed it again.
Yeah, one of the staples of Giallo films generally is, like, when they show a kill, it is in gruesomely graphic detail.
The waterbed scene in pieces.
Exactly.
Oh my god.
Like, generally you're gonna see, like, a knife cutting flesh and blood fucking pouring everywhere, or like you'll see like really vicious moments like that. And in this one, they do try to show you the knife cutting through flesh and stuff, but it's always super brief, or it's not framed right.
And it looked like it wasn't, like, the knife didn't go onto the part where it was supposed to, so it looked like it cut wrong. It did something fucked up, and they cut away quick to just show the bloody knife, and I'm like,
yeah, it's poorly executed is the best way to put it. And I don't know if that's due to, like, maybe this movie had a really shitty budget. Like, I didn't find anything about the budget, I don't think.
I didn't find anything about this. This might be the same as Soon the Darkness, where we just don't have any facts.
Yeah, a lot of these, like, smaller, lesser-known movies from this era, like, you don't know shit about. Like, honestly, who the hell knows what the actual original title for this was?
We Google translated it. It was funny. It was like something in German that I cannot ever try and pronounce again.
It doesn't matter. Death carries a cane.
Boy.
Where were we?
We are at... So my next note after this is they mentioned that the killer is a sex maniac. They're looking for the sex maniac killer.
The killer's always a sex maniac.
What drives killings besides revenge and sex, or having something you don't want, having something you want that you don't have? And I didn't get the connection with that. So they were like, "Oh, this killer in the first place killed a woman who was buck naked," and I'm thinking, "Oh, maybe she was getting changed, maybe she was coming out of the shower, shit like that. He surprised her." It wasn't until more towards the end where you find out and things are clued in, and I'm like, they didn't put the clues in the right spots. They left it for, like, the last part of the movie, and I was already checked out at that point. I was like, this movie's not catching me as much as this title, like, caught me. This picture caught me. It didn't catch me. And I was really sad, because I was really hoping this one would have been good.
Yeah, like there are good things about it. Like the film features a surprising amount of dynamic camera work, which I wasn't really expecting. And they use it to emphasize like key moments. Like they'll do like the quick zooms or like dolly into somebody's face, and it helps a lot. And this is usually accompanied by a pretty simple but strong, dark and ominous piano tone score. And I thought it was those elements like were pretty good. They were like decent choices that like helped sell some of it a little more. Except for that song in the opening that sounded like it came out of like a television drama.
Yeah, right? I was like, oh, am I watching like, I don't know. Oh God, what the fuck was it? Mary Tyler Moore spinoff. Was that something Cincinnati?
I have no idea what the hell you're talking
I like
about.
old TV shows. Mary Tyler Moore and Betty Davis. No, am I thinking of Betty Davis? Who just passed away? That was Betty, right? Betty Davis?
Betty White?
Betty White. Holy shit. You've been gone for 6 months. Shit has gone downhill since you left us, Betty. Please come back. Yeah.
We can't do this without you.
We can't do this without you, lady. Like, come back. God, bring her back. Yeah, they were in this show, and I can see it in my head. It wasn't the Mary Tyler Moore show. They were like a news place or like a TV station. It was a really funny show, but that was the music. Like, I'm like, that music is the exact music I can think of. I gotta Google it. I was trying to find facts, but...
Well, while you're doing that, so like many Giallo films, this story is told through intersecting points of view for various characters that are involved with this string of murders. So, like, essentially, you're jumping back and forth between the inspector, the girl who witnessed the murder, her husband, the reporter lady. Like, we're spending time, spending much of the runtime just like cutting back and forth between all their different stories and like all their different like investigations into trying to figure out who this killer is. And it's, I don't know, it makes it kind of messy in my opinion.
Yeah.
It starts to feel very much like the fucking story's all over the place and you're just like, what the hell? I just want to follow what's going on. And it starts to get hard to really enjoy it, I think. I don't know how you feel about the subject, but I think I saw you on TikTok over there a couple times while we were watching it.
It was actually Instagram.
Even better.
I was wrong. It was the Mary Tyler Moore show. It was fictional television station WJM. And it was Lou Grant, Ted Baxter, Cloris Leachman, Valerie Harper, and Betty White. They were in it. Okay, so I was wrong. But while reading that, I didn't hear the last part that you said. All I heard was TikTok, and I'm like, I'm not on TikTok. Am I in trouble? What?
She wasn't listening to me. What are we doing here? We're supposed to be having a conversation.
I was looking up the. You said why you're looking that up. I looked it up. I was doing my job.
We're not going back. We're moving on.
I'll hear it later in the podcast part when I listen to it. Because I listen to the podcast, not you.
She listens to the podcast, so she's gonna tune in later after I've posted this episode and be like, "Oh, he was talking to me." Why do I do this?
My train of thought or my attention span has been very bad lately, so I apologize, sweetie.
So we have two characters in this movie that this doesn't really have to do with the plot too much, but I'm just gonna bring it up. At least I'm pretty sure there's two characters. They're billed as two characters. Lydia and Sylvia.
Yeah, the sisters.
They're played by the same actress. I'm gonna butcher this, but Anushka Barova.
I mean, when I read her name, I'm gonna guess that sounds pretty close.
So because they're played by the same actress, they're twins. You're supposed to. They make an effort to do physical distinctions between them, which are downright laughable.
Yeah.
So essentially, you have one girl who's the blonde Barbie girl looking bimbo, I'm gonna say, while the sister is just the same thing, but she always has her hair pulled back, she wears glasses, and she dresses more conservatively.
She runs a newspaper. She's very like, I'm gonna go out there, I'm gonna get the story, fuck everybody else. One thing I noticed is in the beginning, the sister was like, oh, come have dinner with us. So, come out here. It'll be great. She's like, no, I've got stuff to do. And then the next time she talks to her, she's like, oh, let me do that dinner again. She's like, no, I'm busy. Like, we'll reschedule again. And then the third time she talks to her sister's like, she's like, oh, I just wanted to ask you a question about the ballet school. She's like, don't you ever call me about that again. She hangs up on her. And then she walks away in the scene with a cane in her hand. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, so that moment comes like very close to the end.
Very close, which I looked at him and I'm like, what just happened?
I think the intention of that was to like give you one last like red herring before the big reveal.
But it was a good link too, because one of the girls that was killed was a ballerina, and then the other girl was the original girl. The first girl that got killed went to the ballet school that they were talking about. So it kind of linked it to maybe she's a jealous ballerina that has a problem with her leg that couldn't dance anymore. I was like, okay, that's good. That's very good.
That's honestly, when I saw that scene, that's where I thought they were gonna go with it.
I really was like, oh my god, that'd be great if like the sister is the killer and her sister is the one who has to report on it. Like that's pretty bad. I mean, badass. That's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty sick. Like you're sick in the head.
There's some really bad moments of sound design in this movie. The one I noted was when the killer's trying to smash through the glass window at the end, and they just reuse the same glass break sound.
But they gave it more bass, so it was lower in the beginning, and then they raised the pitch too high, so it was like ting ting ting. I'm like, what? Did somebody just like smack like a bass drum and then throw a teacup? Like that's what it sounded like. I'm like, the hell?
I'm not the greatest. I'm no sound engineer or anything, but
I had a clue that was bad.
Oh god, it was terrible.
It was.
Another really hilarious thing I wrote down was so there's a moment towards the like getting closer to the end where we are introduced to this witness that they keep talking about, and she comes into the house and she has a moment by herself and she notices a picture on like the mantle, and she walks over and she picks it up and she like starts freaking out, and we see it's
screaming and running.
And we see it's a picture of the two blonde girls.
It's
the
Kitty,
sisters.
It's Kitty and Alberto, and then it's Lydia and the piano guy.
No. Kitty's the brunette, the main brunette.
Oh, Sylvia. I'm sorry, Sylvia. But Alberto was in the picture.
No. There's was it Alberto?
Alberto. You're right that the two sisters were in the photo, but Alberto was in the photo and the piano guy. So that's
now I'm confused.
That's why I was looking at it like, oh.
Maybe they just didn't have anybody else, so they kind of just threw
Maybe
him
they
in
were
there.
hoping that somebody didn't recognize Alberto. Like, oh, here, throw him in as a red herring. And I'm like, that's Alberto. I could be wrong and I could be blind, but I was pretty sure. I was like, oh, Alberto and the sister? Wouldn't his wife rather be in there? Because Kitty's his wife.
I don't know. Regardless, like, so she sees this photo and she like runs away, and like, I mean, I assumed what was going on. I was like, oh, she must have seen the killer in the picture.
Yeah.
So she gets in the car, she drives off into the night, and she's driving frantically, and this part is edited like a fucking Picasso painting.
Oh my god.
It's just cutting all over the place and like showing you all this shit, and then she pulls off on the side of the road and she goes to a payphone and she calls the police, and she's freaking out. The police can't understand her, I guess, and I had to stifle my laughter because at one point she's like yelling into the phone and she's like trying to get another quarter in there, and then she has the phone and she starts screaming into the earpiece. And I think the idea was that it was supposed to emphasize the panic that she was under, but
it just looks stupid.
It looked retarded. It was so bad.
So bad.
I couldn't. Oh my god.
Well, let's talk about you noticed the mistake that one of the ballerinas' names is Magda, and so is the old lady. Her name is Magda too.
No. So I made a comment in the middle of watching this, and I just said, like, I think it was the way the scene was playing out, and this was right around the time where the two sisters had the first phone call together.
Yeah.
And so, like, somebody came into the room and they were like, Lydia, your sister's on the phone. And the way it said, it was, like, really funny. So, like, I was making fun of it, and I was just like, Lydia, your sister's on the phone. And she goes over, and so I just kind of mimed out what was going to happen. I was like, oh, she's going to, like, so I just went, oh, Magda! And then in the next scene, we meet a character named Magda. Like, it was like moments after I said.
Who was the topless ballet dancer.
And it just happened to happen that way, and it was funny. Like,
okay. Well, okay, so there was the scene where Lydia goes to answer the phone, and there's a woman dancing, and she's a ballet dancer. She's dancing in panties, leg warmers, and one of those little croppy little sleeve things that ballet dancers wear when their arms are cold. And I'm just sitting here going, does this woman have sparkly pasties on? What is happening?
I don't know what the hell that was all. She's like doing a strip show while dancing
But
ballet.
I realized it, and I can say why I realized it after we talk about who the killer is. I realized it after.
Okay, you'll have to fill me in.
So we get to the scene where Alberto is meeting with an older woman who said she was the cleaner for the Martinez girl, who was the first girl that was killed. And he goes there, he meets her, he says, oh, I'm not telling you who it is yet, you know, I need you to bring me, I don't know what it was, I think it was either money or something else, but she was trying to essentially, like, bribe him. And then we have the most fucking warning, if you have epilepsy, don't watch this scene of a candle in her hand, but it's a flashlight being flickered from underneath her constantly. And I'm like, it's a candle. Why are there flashlights?
Yeah, I'm not sure what they were going for with the look of that scene.
Was it supposed to just look kind of crazy? Because they did it. It looked nutty.
Maybe. It might have been a stylized choice.
Their style was the wrong style.
So something I want to just bring up right now is, like, in front of me, you guys can't see it in the shot, but in front of me I've got my laptop. I have my notes and couple of tabs for just some facts. And I'm currently on the Giallo files.blogsport.com. Somebody's Giallo blog, essentially. And they have a section for this film called "What the Hell Am I Watching?"
What the hell am I watching?
Their first note in this section is 2 words: glitter boobs.
Glitter boobs! That wasn't, like, the only thing we were seeing, but I looked at Shawn and I was like, oh, it's a ballerina. Like, okay, she's dancing to the music and there are a couple people watching her. And I was like, huh. I was like, this is a very interesting dance. And all of a sudden she starts taking her top off. I'm like, so this is where stripping began. And then she takes her pants off. I'm like, I am right! This is where stripping started.
And this guy goes on to note, like, it's basically a list of, like, the things that baffled him about this movie.
Is it a big list?
No, it's a very short list. So, glitter boobs was his first note.
Glitter boobs, I love it.
The second one reads, and I quote, "In one baffling scene, Marco is distraught over the death of a dancer from his show, and he mournfully plays her a song on the piano. Things turn weird when Lydia arrives and the two start making sexy eyes at each other. Nakedness ensues." Now, I wanted to mention that one because we were making fun of this scene because she comes in and she's like, stares at him like she's a Barbie doll android. And, like, she doesn't blink, and she just has this painted like... smile. It's so fucked up. It's horrifying. It's just horrifying to watch. And then she just gets naked. Because she's trying to, like...
Yep.
Like, what do you call that? Tempt him?
I don't know if it's tempting, or I don't know if it was supposed to be, like, a lyrical piece, because let me tell you what. One of my oldest girl cousin was a ballerina. She was an actual, like, she got pretty high. And then I did ballet. My cousins did ballet. That woman was doing lyrical. She wasn't doing ballet. That was lyrical. But they said when Alberto was looking for a connection to all this, that Magda was one of the top students at our ballet academy. And I'm like, she's not even wearing point. That just might be a nitpicky thing for me because I love ballet. Shawn won't come with me to see a ballet, but I'll watch horror movies with him.
I don't know. Like, it would have to be, like, a very specific show. I'm just not into ballet.
What if you and I were to start a horror ballet company where while they're dancing, we just carry them and dump buckets of blood on them and they still have to dance?
I have no interest in doing that. Alright, so the next thing on our list is what kind of grown-ups use the word toodaloo to say goodbye.
I forgot. Toodaloo. Toodaloo. I'm sorry, what?
The film's big comic moment comes when Kitty agrees to lure the killer out by pretending to be a hooker when a suspicious cane-wielding John picks her up and the police swarm in, only to discover that the man is the chief of police.
And then they get like, "Oh, we're really sorry, sir. I expect you have the money on my desk." What money? The money that you just gave to the fake hooker? Have her give it back to you.
That's what I mean. Like, you could have just said... You could have said anything. You could have said, "I was just checking out your operation." You could have said, "Give me the fucking money back."
Yeah.
Like, obviously they're not going to do anything because you're the chief of police.
And I'm just laughing like, you just busted the chief of police picking up a hooker.
And they just let him go.
And they let him go. I'm like, man, oh man, the 70s were a different time. I did note sex murder, sex murder, sex murder, sex murder. Oh god. At this point, I don't know, where are we in the story? So Kitty's already done the fake hooker. We're done with that idea, and that's when Lydia starts catching on, like, "Oh, I only sold that bag to one." And this dude shows up, tells Lydia, "I only sold that bag to one person, and I have her name, I have her address, so you can talk to her." So Lydia's closing in pretty quick on who Kitty and Alberto really are. And I'm just like, I thought Kitty and Alberto and Lydia were friends. I don't know. That part confused me. I thought they were friends, but I guess they're not.
I don't really know. Like, it's hard to tell what is going on or who has relations in this movie.
We know who's having relations.
We know who's fucking.
We know who's straight fucking. We just don't know who friends.
The last thing on Giallo Files' list here of what the hell am I watching is before and during a break-in at the dance academy, Kitty takes a pee break, and we just sit around and wait until she's done. There's no reason for this to have been in the movie. Why the fuck is it there?
It might be my nerves, but I gotta go pee-pee.
Yes. She says she has to go pee-pee.
It's not, I gotta take a piss. It's not, I gotta pee. It's, I gotta go pee-pee. Toodaloo!
What the fuck is happening?
This movie, like, we're not even at the point of revealing, like, the killer. But it's at this point in the movie, I was like, I wanted to mouth to him, like, I'm done. I didn't even give a shit who the killer was at this point. It could have been Kitty or fucking Self, who was just whittling on people as she knifed them, and I don't care.
I would have been more impressed if the killer had been Kitty.
If her actual clit could hold the knife and she was knifing people with her little clit, like, ha! And pee-pee. This movie.
Do we still want to wrap this up with
Yeah, we can. So we get to the point where they've broken into the ballet school to get information, but the killer followed them. And Alberto and... It was Lydia, because they all group up. Alberto and Lydia go search somewhere else, and the killer ends up with Kitty and chases her out and chases her into a green room. Or a greenhouse. Now, the quote that said they're trapped in a green room together in the synopsis, I thought they were actually going to be in there for a while and it was going to be a cat and mouse chase for a little bit. It was literally, let me hide behind a couple of ferns like this as they're waving in the breeze. And then go, ah, ah, as the dude breaks in and comes and gets her.
This was also another moment where the camera work gets absolutely
oh my god
bonkers.
It was like they were literally doing this the whole time with the freaking camera. Sorry, kids. What? I can't help it. I'm
she
crazy.
Absolutely hates you guys. She's constantly screaming and grabbing the microphone and making my life a living hell when I try to edit this.
Welcome to hell, Tetrault. Welcome to hell.
Fuck.
Now release the other cat. We'll make this a complete hell.
Alright, so...
She started screaming.
I'm assuming there was an issue with the cats or something.
At least both us and our neighbors hate our cats equally. We'll edit that out.
So, yeah, the ending of this, it gets absolutely crazy in this greenhouse, and she's being chased by the killer, and the police arrive and shoot the killer.
They just shoot him.
He's just dead. He falls dead. They unveil, and it's...
In front of Lydia, they unveil her husband, the piano dude.
Yeah, Marco.
Now, here's my theory about, now that I know that Marco was the killer, the piano guy was the killer, she wasn't enticing him. She probably was practicing for something, and he said, you know what would be cool? Is if you did the dance and you in the music, you let the music be, like, sensually take you. So he was letting his sex maniac mind be thrilled as well as do this piano playing for her performance. That's what I think. Like, now going back to it, he was seducing women that needed him, because you didn't have a radio you could just click and play music. Like, you needed a piano player, you needed an orchestra for ballet. So it makes, excuse me, I'm really sorry. I just burped. That was gross. So it makes sense that he was killing young ballerinas because he would get to know them and start, friendships with them because he was their piano player. He would be the one that would be, oh, okay, I'm going to come with you while you're at rehearsals. We'll play piano, and then he knew where they lived and he would, fuck them and kill them.
Yeah, and I don't know, like, it was just kind of a flat ending. for me. Like, it just didn't
It
wrap anything up enough. Like, it just hit.
There was no emotion on Lydia. She was like, "Oh, it was my husband. Oh darn."
It's like, oh,
I'll find love again.
I had a feeling something was wrong with him.
Something was off, because at one point there's a sex scene where they try to get all, blah, blah, blah.
This is very early into the movie.
Very early, and she talks to somebody and was like, "Oh, well, Marco's impotent. Like, he can't get it up for her." And he was like, "Great, tell everybody. That's wonderful." And then at the end, she was like, "Oh, so anybody he slept with, he would kill. But he wouldn't sleep with me because of whatever was going on in his mind. He didn't want to end up killing me." That was a very kind of, like, complex, like, plot device in there. And I wish, like, that would have been played up more. Like, let's get to know him more. But that's not the point of a Giallo 70s movie.
I mean, some Giallos have more complex plots to them, but, like, this one just wasn't fleshed out enough, in my opinion. Closing questions? Are we about there, or do you have any other thoughts?
I have no other thoughts. None.
All right. Overall thoughts on the film?
I didn't like it. This was boring. I'm glad we have a cool Giallo movie in the archive, if you will, but this not one of the worst ones we've seen on here, in my opinion, but definitely, like, there was no interest in this one. None.
Yeah, I agree. I enjoyed elements of it for what they were. Like, as a big fan of Giallo films, I was able to have some fun with this one at times, but there wasn't enough of the things that I really like that Giallo usually does. This one was pretty cookie cutter. It followed most other ones, like, to a T. The plot just wasn't well developed enough. The characters weren't enjoyable enough.
Yeah.
And it fell flat, ultimately. Did you have any favorites?
I gotta go pee-pee. I gotta go pee-pee, Shawn.
Bathroom's over there.
Toodaloo! That's it. That. No favorite scenes, nothing stood out. No real lines stood out. It was very, like you said, cookie cutter. Like, even though there was a lot of sex and a lot of nudity, and there wasn't any gore, there wasn't any blood, there wasn't any weird twists or exciting things that I wanted from a Giallo film.
It was also boring nudity. Like, it wasn't...
We're not saying tits aren't exciting, but I saw better nudity in I don't know, fucking Bram Stoker, Dracula.
True.
Yeah.
Does it work?
No, it does not. They should have taken a look at this script one more time and maybe rewritten. There should have been reworks to this. Revised. Use that word every day at work. Never remember to use it in real life.
I have to agree. I don't really think this one works as well as it should. In some elements it does. If you're looking for just a very standard Giallo film, I guess it could work, but I don't... there's better out there that you should be watching. Would you recommend it?
No. I mean, if you stumble upon it, or if you listen to this podcast and you want to watch it, go ahead. I wouldn't recommend this. I don't know who I'd recommend this to. I would give the synopsis for this and people would be like, yeah, I'm all set. I'm going to watch something else.
Yeah, I think I would only recommend this to diehard Giallo fans, or like if you're somebody who's like, I gotta see every fucking horror movie, yeah, watch it, but don't go into this one expecting the best Italian film you've ever seen. Especially since it's not really an Italian film.
It's like a Spanish... It's like Spain, Dutch, German, Italian. It's weird.
How would you make this today?
A lot of work. So much work. It would probably be a different story. I'd go in depth into Marco and figure out why he's like this. What is he doing? Figure out how he met Lydia. Like, Kitty and Alberto got involved because they just happened to be there. They were nobodies. Like, turn them into something completely different. Like, maybe just background characters and focus on Lydia and Marco and why he's like this.
Yeah, I almost think... Like, if I were to do this today, I think, first of all, I would strip down everything to, like, alright, these are the bare elements that, like, have to carry over. And then I would probably say make Lydia the protagonist, have her relationship with Marco be much more in depth. I would definitely explore that more. And I would keep... What the hell was the protagonist's name?
Kitty?
Kitty. I don't know why I couldn't remember that. But I would keep her, but I would make her working for Lydia as her photographer.
Yeah. Like a crime scene photographer.
Yeah, like, well, she's a reporter, so just like, she's her
go-to.
go-to.
Peter Parker.
Yeah. Yeah. So she would be her go-to photographer, and that's how her character could be involved. I probably would lose Alberto altogether. He just was kind of randomly
and he was
there.
the one that really was the most emphasis on this. Like, Kitty was kind of almost a secondary.
Yeah, she, like, didn't matter.
Yeah.
But, yeah, those were the things that I would probably do, but I don't know. Ultimately, this movie needs a lot of work.
A lot.
So, is this mainstream exploitation or other?
Exploitation, because it's part of Giallo. Giallo is pretty much exploitation. But this is like almost now? It's almost just generic. So maybe back in the 70s this was exploitation, but I feel this is just run-of-the-mill, generic, coming soon to video kind of movies.
Alright, I for the most part agree. I would classify this as exploitation. Pure and simple. It's... Most Giallo films, I think, would fall under exploitation because they exploit nudity and violence to a higher plane, really. I do think this one is somewhat tame to some of the stuff we've seen before, but the level in which they exploit nudity for needless reasons, I think it's exploitation, pure and simple. Do you have any other final thoughts on Death Carries a Cane, other than the fact that is a really good title?
I mean, that is a great title now, knowing that the cane was a red herring. The cane meant nothing. It was more or less for Marco to push it onto possibly being somebody else. I'm glad we have it. I'm always glad to have these older movies. I enjoy seeing cinematography, and I enjoy seeing fashion and, like, beauty standards of, like, the 70s, 60s, and 50s. It just, to me, it's like, it's another time, it's another era kind of thing. But it's gonna look nice on the shelf and never come back down.
Yeah, I don't see myself revisiting this, not at least anytime soon. Maybe in the distant future for some reason or another.
Maybe if I have a girls' night and we all want to get drunk and watch a really bad movie. Ta-da!
Alright, well, I think that brings the discussion on Death Carries a Cane to an end.
To a close.
But before we wrap up this episode, as always, we hope that you stay tuned for the coming attractions.
Terror Train.
Everybody take off your mask. Hey, take it easy, man. What are you doing? Oh, my God. Stay with your date. I don't want to get back on that track. Right here. Nobody does. Help! Please! Nice gag, dog. Somebody help me! Help! You'll die. At this temperature, you'll die. No! You'll die. Come on, no! Come on! No!
For the students aboard, it's going to be the one party to end them all.
They're always walking out of my parties. But this time, you can't. Magic. My last big college party.
It's a joke. Goddamn practical joke.
Train.
I don't want to get back on that track.
So next up, we go back into pure slasher territory.
I saw a name that always makes me excited when you say slasher or horror. I saw Jamie Lee Curtis's name. I saw good old Jamie Lee.
So my first introduction to this movie was not actually seeing the film.
Okay.
My first introduction to this was in Scream. When you watch Scream, during the scene where they get towards the end of the film, when they're at Stu's house for the party, Nev Campbell's sitting in the living room looking through a stack of tapes from the video store that Randy works at, and she goes, "Terror Train, Prom Night, how come Jamie Lee Curtis is in all of these movies?" And that, I had never seen or heard of the movie before that, so that was my first introduction to there's a movie out there called Terror Train and it stars Jamie Lee. I gotta see it.
Oh boy. Have you ever seen this movie?
Yes. I actually first saw this, I think I had owned the DVD at one point. Like, I went out and just bought it because I had never seen it. And that was when I had my original movie collection. That, unfortunately, has been since sold off. But now I own the Blu-ray copy from Scream Factory, And I rewatched it when I first bought this version, and I enjoy it. I think it's a cool, fun slasher film.
I hope I enjoy it. I'm looking for a horror movie to disturb me. And you've showed me many that you're like, oh, I don't think, like, you showed me House of a Thousand Corpses, which you said at the time, oh, this is a disturbing movie, I don't think you're going to like it. I loved it, and I laughed at times. Because horror to me is like, this is my take on horror. There is nothing you show me on film that could compare to the horrors of the world currently right now.
Yeah, I can agree. And I don't think this is going to be something that you're going to find disturbing. It's a generic 80s slasher film. So if you can sit through Halloween, any of the Halloweens or any of the Friday the 13th, you're going to be fine with this. This one's a little bit different in one way or another than most that you'll find, but it's not one of like Jamie Lee's best movies or anything like that. It's just another horror film from the 80s.
Jamie Lee Curtis's best movie she's ever done would be Halloween H2O.
I don't know about that.
Now he's trying to figure out if I'm kidding or not.
Don't get me wrong. Halloween H2O is one of my favorite in the franchise.
It's True Lies.
What?
It's True Lies. I love Jamie Lee Curtis in True Lies.
I'll give you that. She gives a good performance in True Lies.
Still hate Schwarzenegger, though.
It is what it is.
You say that when you have nothing else to say.
But yes. So next up, we're doing Terror Train. That is our big farewell to the video side of this podcast for the time being, at the very least. We'll try to make it a good one for you guys.
I'm gonna have to lock my phone up.
Why?
Because my phone is very distracting lately. I don't know why it is, but it just is.
Alright, but that brings this episode to an end. For more recommendations on movies or anything that you should check out, if you want to see our movie collection, if you want to see some fun behind the scenes or chat with us, recommend us some movies, check us out. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Grindhouse Podcast. We're on Twitter at GrindhouseCast. I've said this 10,000 times, I still can't get it right. You can find us on Discord, where you can chat with Leah. She runs that whole side of things, and you can probably have some really fun conversations with her over there.
I'm insane. I am crazy when it comes to conversations.
All the links to everything are down in the show notes. Listen to us if you'd like. Rate us on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever you get your morning fix. New episodes come out first thing every Monday morning. If you enjoy the podcast, if you want to see this episode, our next episode, or any of our previous episodes with video, then you can subscribe to us on YouTube. Unfortunately, that side of things is going away. If you like what we're doing and you want to show us some support, you can find all the information for that down below. We do have a Patreon. Any donations are always accepted and appreciated. But until next week, I'm Shawn.
I'm Leah.
Thank you for listening, and keep watching.
Peace.
of the shocking nature of many scenes in this film, it is definitely not recommended for the squeamish.